And we are live with Mr. Hangout himself. Ray, what's
Yeah,
up, my brother? How you feeling today?
man, I am blessed, man. I am glad. Look, I saw another day. I'm on here with my brother.
Yeah.
So I'm winning. In my book, I'm winning, bro.
Yes, I love that. I love to hear that. We are all winning. When we have breath in our body, that is a win in of itself. So super stoked to get the chance to connect with you today, learn a little bit more about your journey, and more importantly, learn more about your purpose. But to start this conversation off, I was thinking about this idea of love. As I was thinking about the energy of love, I was also thinking about like, what does it mean to truly love myself, and how have I been presented with experiences push me to love myself? So
Mhm.
I'm wondering, as we get ready to start this conversation, if you could just shed a little bit of light on how you show love to yourself.
Wow. Okay. How do I show love to myself? Man, because the first thing I thought about was like self-care, which is
Mm,
could seen as a form of love, right? Which I don't do the best with that, to be totally honest with you. But as far as loving myself, I think the first thing that I try to do is forgive myself. I
mm,
try to show love by remembering that I'm human and I make mistakes.
yeah.
There are often times that I think we beat ourselves up when we do things and we recognize that we could have done them a little better, but instead of using that as a way of projecting a positive turnaround, say, okay, next time I'll do it this way. That was a lesson that I learned, and a way that I'll do better for my next round. We just saw, man, I can't believe I did that, and these type of things. So I think that's the first thing for me. Showing myself love is just is allowing myself to forgive me, and
Mm,
and I do that through prayer, through talking with the man on high, and just and asking for that level of forgiveness, and opportunities to present ways to show love to self. So I think that would
mm.
be the biggest thing for me.
And I'm so glad you brought up the idea of forgiveness. Forgiveness is critical. And when we think about our soul's liberation, we need to not only forgive ourselves, but forgive others who may have caused us harm. I know for me, my spiritual journey, a lot of it has been rooted in that energy of forgiveness.
Hmm.
And when I think about the true purpose of forgiveness, the true purpose is to make space. So if
Hmm.
you think about like in your energy, you're holding on to some type of trauma or some type of experience that may have caused you to experience harm or may have been traumatic for you. And you're taking up space with that energy.
Right,
And so I love, love, love this idea of forgiveness, and that it just truly makes space in your cauldron of energy that you have, or in your energy
right,
bracket, to make space for other things like joy and love and peace. So I love
right, right. Oh, that's awesome, man. That is good stuff
that.
there, man. And one thing, when I was thinking about the interview today, and I said, man, what D got up his sleeve, man. I gotta watch him, because I will always remember the first conversation we had, and I just started tearing up out of nowhere talking to you. I'm like, what in the crap? I said, but he not getting me today. I'm ready, and you probably still gonna get me, but in my mind, I'm ready for you,
You
because
are you ready for me?
I'm trying to be, bro. It probably ain't gonna work, because I think one of the gifts that you've been given is your energy, is your ability to manifest, to help manifest things. Is the ability to really like relate to people on so many different levels. I know throughout this conversation there'll be things that you'll say that'll hit home and be very thought provoking before you even get to the question that you have. Because even in hearing you talking about making space for other great things, and not focusing so much on any particular element, especially when it comes to the trauma and things that we experience in life. It just made me think about like my relationship with my dad, which I think probably came up in that first conversation. It makes me think about my relationship with my uncle, who's my mom's only brother.
Yeah.
And so it just makes me think about my relationship, particularly with those two men,
Mm,
and ways that those relationships help shape the man that I am, in ways that, whether it was more like me emulating, or it was
yeah.
more of me reversing so that I
Mm,
don't do the same thing or make the same decisions.
yeah,
But either way, it helped shape me to be better. So even when people may not project the best thing onto you, if
yeah,
you can be strong enough in those situations to say, well, I'm going to actually turn that around and make it better for myself and people around me. I don't want to continuously move in the same cycle. So I'll
yeah,
do my best to be better. Or if my dad was this type of person and it was, and in my opinion it wasn't the best, then instead of like just me projecting that onto the person that I love or the people that I love, I'll try to turn that around and show a different form of love. That's really when you mentioned making that space. Like I started thinking about those type of things too, man. So yeah,
yeah.
you're not getting me today though.
I might get you though. I now you done set me up for a challenge, and I love the challenge, man. I ain't gonna hold you. Like that's one of the things that like really gets me going. So we gonna see if you out there listening, audience, be keep your eyes open for this man. This man said he ain't, I'm not gonna get him in the crowd today, but we gonna see. But bro, I think that what you're speaking about is this idea of programming.
Mhm.
And programming, we are conditioned well before we take our first breath. Your programming actually begins when the fetus start to grow in the womb. And so this idea of having these examples in life and being able to recognize that, oh, this is energy that I want to align myself with, or
Mhm.
this is energy that does not align with who I am. Therefore, I become who I am as a result of that alignment or misalignment. I think that speaks to the energy of programming. And I've been doing some studying on epigenetics and
Wow.
really trying to better understand how is it that we show up how we show up, and how much of how we show up is based off of our conditioning. And the
Right.
reality is, you cannot escape it. We have all been programmed to believe, think, act a certain way. And I would argue we're probably like 95%, probably 97 of our ancestors. It makes me think about our community that both you and I work super hard to serve. And what does it take to actually shift the narrative and experience and the culture of our community, even some of the traditions within our community that may not necessarily be serving us. I mean,
Right.
we're in a beautiful city of New Orleans, and baby, the people love to drink. The people love,
Yeah, man.
and
Most
we
definitely.
love a good time. But how much of that is contributing to the health disparities in our community? And so
Right.
we have to think about what are some of the things that are representative of our culture that we want to continue to celebrate and
Mhm.
uplift. And then where are those spaces, making space again, where
Right.
are those spaces and opportunities for us to really talk about how our culture and traditions have stifled our progress? And I
Right.
know that like some people they're like, they don't want to talk about that, but that's I appreciate you bringing that up, because it makes me think about the way that our kids are showing up today is in a direct reflection, a response to their conditioning. And so,
Correct.
when we have these conversations about generational divides, oftentimes people say things like, oh, I don't understand that generation. That generation is loose, or that generation is out of pocket. It's like, but you contributed to that generation being in that state. And I
Right.
think this idea of personal responsibility can sometimes fall flat when we think about the experience and conditioning of our community.
Absolutely, man. That's damn. You said three mouthfuls, man. Because realistically, I think about that a lot. I think about I just had a conversation with my mom
Mm.
like two
Shout out to mom.
days, 2 day. I had a love you, mama. I had a conversation with her a couple days ago, and it was a very deep conversation about reflection. And there was a situation that happened, and it caused her to kind of say, you know what, over time, I've been wanting to talk to you, just express myself to you. And but the problem was she was very apprehensive to have the conversation. And I think because she just was concerned with how I would react. what I may say in return to what she had to say. And so I know that, my mother being very deeply rooted in her spirituality, she prayed
Mm-hmm.
over it. And I think because we have interaction with each other automatically 3 times a week, because she picks my kids up 3 times a week
Yeah.
and brings them to the house, so I get to see her on those days. And so whatever things may have happened between the time of this incident up until the time she talked to me, some things may have caused it to be pushed to the side. Other things may have made her want to talk about it more. But it was just this constant battle in her mind, I'm sure, of when's the right time? Is it the right time? I want to make sure I talk to God first so that I come with the spirit of the right things to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell the last morning she talked to me and said she wanted to talk, I could hear nervousness. And my mother is strong. She is, like I said, deeply rooted in her spirituality. She is very comfortable in her skin and the ability to express herself, good, bad, and different. But I could tell she was nervous. So, before she got to the house, I prayed as well, made sure that I asked God to allow me to have the spirit of understanding, that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't make her feel even more anxious to have the conversation. Of course, throughout the conversation, she shed tears. There was even a time that, I brought up something in the past, in her past, as far as her parents, that I think really shapes who she became as a person and how that impacted me and how I was shaped as a person. So it was really like a lot of, but I say all that to say that it was definitely a conversation that focused indirectly on those generational differences.
Mm-hmm.
The way that she was raised, which was by her grandmother, you're talking, my mom was born in the 60s. Her grandmother probably was born she could have been born in the 20s. You know what I'm saying? Like the way they were rearing up kids was different than how I rear my kids.
Yeah.
And over each generation, like I mentioned earlier, you have the ability to continue a pattern, or you
Mm.
have the opportunity to change what those patterns are. And hopefully that change is change for the better. And I
Mm.
think that the generational gaps that we're seeing is because I think over time we've lost sight of what community looks like, specifically in our community, and we've lost what that community parenting and just
Yeah.
oversight looks like. I can remember when I was a kid, man, I knew that even if my mama was around, but my neighbors saw me doing something I had no business doing, they were gonna get me, and then my
Yeah.
mama was gonna get me. But you
Absolutely.
try that now, man, and it's like, don't you talk to my child, don't you tip, it's just so different. And as in my
Mm.
opinion, there are a few indicators, things that we can point to when that change may have happened, why it may have happened. But it's so many things that can be considered. Like it would be
Yeah.
a lot of energy to put into something like that. But in my opinion, I think that's the biggest thing, is that we lost sight of what community meant for us,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have that village mentality the way we used to.
Mm.
And as those generations continue, we're losing it more and more, and you see it in the behavior of our young people.
Yeah.
But like I tell my kids, I am really huge on accountability.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times, us as adults, we lack the accountability for where we may have misstepped for our young people. And
Yeah.
so the reason that the space that I have, the hangout, exists is because I wanted to show my accountability. I
Mm.
want to show that even though this child may not be mine, I
Yeah.
want to be a part of a solution that helps them, that helps their parents in my own way. I'm not rearing your child, but I'm indirectly and sometimes even directly mentoring them when they're in my space. And
Yeah.
so that could hopefully change conversations in households. It can develop relationships with these parents that may say, you know what? Like my child just feels different when they come to your space. They act different when they come to your space. And because of that, like I want to figure out what it is. Like I want to have a conversation about it. Or even if I never talk to you, Mr. Hangout, I'm going to send my child there because I like what I see when they come back home. I can see a shift in their mindset. I can see a shift in their behavior. And that, whether I ever know that or not, in my mind, that's what I'm intentionally trying to do. So I know that because I'm planning that and I'm putting that out into the world, that is going to come back and it's going to be my way of trying to make effective change in our community. So even when I'm not like right in front of it, doing something with youth, if somebody sees it and it just gets to their home some kind of way, they never even make it to the hangout, but they saw Instagram, they saw an interview, they see this podcast, that will hopefully make a difference
Mm,
and change that shift. And the more we work together, the more impact people like yourself and myself and people in our circles who want to see different, and we don't just talk about it, we actually go out there and we try to make a difference.
yeah.
It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better.
Listen, I think you might get me today. Like I'm over here just like, and I'm sure when the people listen to this interview, they're gonna feel your energy. It is such a divine and beautiful energy that is channeling through right now. And so I just have to
Thank you,
like
man.
name
Thank you,
that.
brother.
That is just so beautiful. And as you were talking, I was thinking about the energy of value
Mm-hmm.
and how do we really know something is of value? And oftentimes you have to lose something
Mm.
understand its value. And
Come
so
on.
as you were talking, I was like, oh, it is probably because when I think about God's anointing and like teaching us lessons, like
Yeah.
sometimes we have to lose something, truly
Mm.
understand the purpose and the power that the thing has in our life. And you
Right.
kept talking about this idea of community. And I just want to share with you a couple months ago, I was in a guided meditation, just thinking about like the work that I do to show up and serve community. And God spoke directly to me and said, I want you to swap out the word community with the word village.
Mm.
And in your conversations with people, use the word village, village work, as opposed to community, and you're going to see what it does to people in terms of their response and
Yeah.
how they react to the word village. Because you can be serving community and still thinking about your individual
Right.
life, your individual
Come
platform,
on,
whatever it is that you're working on. But when you are operating in the village mindset, you are
man.
really showing up every single day on behalf of the village. And so
Right.
I just offer that up to you as another way to ground the energy and how you show up every day. Because I do see the hangout as a beacon in the village. And more and kids, families, like the community at large will benefit from the hangout and the work that you all are doing there because you're creating a sense of psychological safety for kids, one that has been tested for many, many years. And even when people say now, like, oh, we ain't got nothing, there's nothing here for the kids. Or like when they're talking about the East, there's like, there's nothing in the East. I'm like, actually, my friend owns this spot called the.
You tell him, D.
And I'm like, and he's doing incredible work. So you're not just gonna make that blanket statement that there's nothing going on in the East, because I have personally experienced the work that Ray and family are doing
Come on,
to
man.
like cultivate that village and to nurture the village. And so I just love that even through the challenges, you and I have talked about our challenges,
Right, right.
having, a brick and mortar space,
Mm-hmm.
we still get to show up and smile. We still get to
Yes,
show up
yes,
and exude the energy of love and the energy of joy in the work. And I think that is when it's all said and done, like that's what's most important.
yes,
That
indeed.
legacy that you're building.
Yes. Oh man, come on, man. Jesus. You gave me chills with that one, bro. Like, that's, yeah, man. I'm sitting here taking notes because one thing that I was having a conversation with my mom, right? And I
Mm,
could not remember the term. But when I was working at the Corps of Engineers some years back, I took a leadership development class. And
yeah.
one the gentleman who led the second level of the course, who became a mentor and friend of mine, a shout out to Dr. Michael Evans. He he used a term in the training, and he called it your value system. And so I was trying to, so when you mentioned value, I was like, that's it. Cause I was trying to remember that in my conversation with my mom, and I could not think of the term. I'm like, so I talked my way around it, but I could not remember the term, and it's value system.
Mm.
Our value system, and this goes back probably to what you were mentioning earlier in the conversation about programming. So we learn lessons directly and indirectly from our parents, from our ancestors, right? So the way as kids, the sponges that we are and how malleable we are, like we soak it all in and we see things that they do, we hear things that they say, and they may not directly tell us this is how you should feel about this is what you should say about this. But when we're feeling that energy of how they reacted to their hearts being broken, how did they react to racism? How did they react to their first interaction with God? Like we feel that and we see that, and so we start to build our value system based on that.
Mm.
One thing that when funny story about when I met Dr. Evans, I was running behind the work that day. And so, and where I don't know if you know where the Corps of Engineers is, but it's on the river, sits on the river, like at the end of Carrollton. It's Leak
Mhm.
Avenue, so like River Road. And it sits behind the train, the railroad. So oftentimes the railroad, the train will pass and it'll block the entrance to getting on site. So you could show up at just the right time or the wrong time, and the train is blocked. So you're just sitting there waiting to get in. So
Yeah.
once the train passed, I was able to get on. I think this might have been like the first day of the class. So this was the first impression.
Mm.
And I ran late because I was stuck behind that train. I would have been on time, but it was just long enough to make me late. So I'm rushing up into the class and I sit down, and one of the first things Dr. Evans says is about impressions, and he didn't talk directly to me, but I knew he was talking about me, right? So he was like, when you show up, when you show up on time, you're already late. When you show up early, because if you show up after something is started, then that's a bad, and I'm paraphrasing. So I felt the need to somewhat explain and apologize to him, right? Because I didn't
Mm.
want that to be his first impression of me. So we were on the elevator, and he's a big guy, tall white guy, big presence. But I stood next to him and I was like, hey, I really want to apologize and I want to explain. And it's like he kind of shied away from me because he was actually an introvert. And
Wow.
I didn't know that this man will sit and talk for 4 hours to teach a class, but privately he's kind of, he's a little bit more shy, right? But the things that I learned from this man were amazing, bro. And that value system, because that's what he mentioned. Like in his mind, a part of his value system taught him that regardless of what the reason may be to why something happens, whatever in his mind is the reason, that's what he's built on. And that's why a
Mm.
lot of us react the way we do to things because our value system has taught us that this is why that happened. This is what's
Mm.
supposed to happen after that happens. And it just builds and it develops our character. And so I was telling my mom, who unfortunately lost her mom at the age of 5. So she didn't grow up with her mother, right? And so I'd never had my grandmother, my maternal grandmother in my life. And that shaped my mom and her siblings. It even shaped me because it shaped how she parented me because she was basing her parenting on 2 generations back, right?
Yeah.
If her mom had raised her, she may have been a different mother.
Yeah.
And that's not saying, either way, good or bad. That's just saying that it would have certainly been different because she would have had someone who had a very direct connection to her.
Mm.
If my mom raised my kids, she would raise them in a way that makes sense to her. And it would be a combination of her as a mother and her as a grandmother. But I'm
Yeah.
raising my kids only as their father. Now, I have influence from my ancestors on me, but I'm primarily parenting them as their father. I'm not doing that as their grandfather, as their uncle, as a brother. It's just, so that kind of changes. Or the fact that my mom she was the third. oldest, but the second oldest girl. And because her
Mhm.
older sister was already married, when my mother came more of age, the thing was she took on a maternal role. And
Yeah.
because she took on that maternal role, it impacted her relation. It shaped her relationship with her siblings. It shapes her
Mm.
relationship with her grandkids because she's
Wow.
always thinking in a maternal state, right? So
Wow.
all that to say that that value system is extremely important. It's invisible. We don't know it's there, but it's there. And the biggest thing with that Dr. Evans taught me was the ability to just know moving forward, just having the knowledge that that's what it is, and I can put a name to it. And so
Yeah.
now I can be aware what those things are, what things trigger me, or what things bring me joy. Is once it's been identified and it has a name, I can focus on making that better. Now, the last thing I'll say is village. I wrote down village with exclamation points, man. That was that was brilliant, bro. Like
Yeah.
that mindset of just shifting, thinking, because you're right. Although you and I, when we talk about community, we are actually talking about a grander scale. We're talking about that group. But I can definitely agree that whether we have at some point thought about, that mindset has been this, but certainly I could think about other people who are not thinking village.
Mm.
They have all a great intention and they're doing great things in the community, but until we have more of that, like that village is me pulling everything in, as opposed to me saying, I'm going to focus on this community and I'm going to do this. And it may not necessarily just be I, but it's like thinking like this. But community, I'm like, nope, David, you come here, such and such, you come here. I'm going to bring all this in and I'm going to wrap my arms around all of it. And we're going to figure this thing out together because it takes a village. That was powerful, bro. That was
I
powerful.
appreciate that.
That was
Yeah,
powerful.
man. I've just been in such a deep state of gratitude for that download during the meditation. It has really shifted a lot of not only my thinking, but how I'm showing up in the world and
Hmm.
also how I am observing the world. And I'm like, okay, I think we lost sight of this so that we can get it back, so that we can truly value it. Once we get back to that village state, we'll have even more value attached to what it means to operate in the village because we know what it means to be without the village.
Hmm.
And so I am grateful for that download, but also being able to share that energy with others and experience their divine reactions to it. Every time I mention the word village, I can see that people like sort of, yeah,
Yeah.
like that's what we're supposed to be doing. And I will say that I've had a number of people that start to think about it like, yeah, like I miss that. And even if you didn't grow up in the village, because it's part of your DNA, because it's something that's ancestral, we all have a similar reaction hearing the word village. A lot of
Right.
people are like, that's the missing link. That's what
Yeah.
it like shifts everything for us. So I'm just, I can't say gratitude too many times, but
Right.
I'm just
Yeah, man. Yeah. 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 Most definitely, bro. Like that's big, man. Like you said, village, village, village. Getting back to the village, understanding that it really takes everyone, putting in work.
yeah.
It takes our it starts at home. So it takes
Hmm.
it takes the energy that we set as parents, as guardians, for our kids and creating safe spaces for them,
Yep.
having open dialogue, which can be tough sometimes, man, especially depending on your value system, how you were
Mm.
raised. Were you raised to think that children don't have an opinion? They don't
Mm.
get to say nothing. So the first time they say, shut up, stay in your child's place, that ain't your place.
Yep.
When you that's how I was raised.
Yeah.
So a part of me does put that on my kids, but I'm way more open to
Mm.
their opinions. I just allow them to understand that even your opinions at this tender age has limitations. Like I
Yeah.
don't want you to think that you can say exactly how you feel all the time because you're not quite in a state of mind to where you can process the appropriate way to express that feeling.
Mm,
So you may just blurt it all out, like you're not thinking tactfully yet because you're still pretty young. So
yeah.
as you start to experience life more, you'll recognize the proper way to say certain things to get the same message across, but I'm going to say it in a way that it can be better received
Yeah.
and the understanding could be better. I use this analogy because I'm really a huge like TV person. Like I'm a writer, act, like so I just love making references to things that have been like embedded in my mind and my spirit, right? And I am a huge Cosby Show fan, right?
Yeah.
So I really think that it shaped me. It has its place in shaping me as a parent, like
Mm,
wholeheartedly, bro. Like the lessons that we learn from the Cosby Show and shows like Family Matters and The Fresh Prince, but the Cosby Show is where it was rooted for me. And
yeah.
so I used an example on my mom. Now you're talking to somebody in their 60s, and I was still able to reference this to explain to her how I feel about instances where she may mean well in her messaging, but her delivery may not be the best. So I used the reference of when Vanessa was dating Dabness, if you remember that.
Yeah.
So Dabness was older. He was working on a college campus that she worked. He was an older gentleman, and it was like the way she presented him to her parents. And I think at that point they may have gotten married already. And the way she presented them wasn't the best. Like it
Yeah.
was hard to receive that the way she did. What Bill did in his grand way was he presented something very like scrumptious and delicious to Dabness. He asked him about his favorite meal, and he mentioned that a steak. Oh, I love a good porterhouse. And you could smell it with the potatoes and the fixing. And like I'm very colorful, like he was in that explanation. Like when I tell stories, when I explain things, I try to present it with color so that it can be beautifully painted in your mind, right? And he went and he talked
Mm-hmm.
about all of that, and he made it such a pretty picture. He was saying, "Now, so imagine if I go outside and I take the trash can lid off the trash can, and I put that beautiful steak and the potatoes and all that stuff there, and all nice smelling, all good, and I present it to you. Like, how does that feel to you?" He was like, "Oh, I wouldn't like." He said, "Yeah, it's not as appealing though, right?" He said, "But that's the way she brought you in on the garbage can lid." And
Mm-hmm.
so
Yep.
I explained that to my mom, like it's about presentation. Your message
Mm-hmm.
could be beautiful. It could be something that's gonna give me all the substance that I need, all the things I really need to hear, whether I want to or not. But if you bring it to me on a garbage can lid, I'm not gonna accept it the same way I would on fine china. You have to be
Okay.
mindful of how you present things to people. And the same applies to our kids. Like we have to be mindful of how we present things to them. We have to get out of a mindset solely that because you're a child, I don't have to respect your opinion.
Mm,
When I was young, I told my mama one of the greatest and worst things in your opinion that you may have did was raise me to be an independent thinker. Like I speak up, right? But the problem is when you're young and you have an independent thinker, adults don't like that, bro. They don't
mm.
like that.
No.
You a great child as long as David, Raynard, oh, they such great young men. Oh, they respectful, they listen, but let you have an opinion that goes against how they feel in that moment. Oh, I can't believe his little disrespectful child had the nerve to tell me this. No, I said it very respectfully. You just didn't like what I said because I'm a kid. And so I told that to my mom when I was a teenager, bro. I'm like, you raised me to think for myself and to express it and always be polite, always be respectful. But you also have to understand, and I'm going to say things sometimes you're just not going to like. So I remind myself that with my kids,
Mm.
and I'm very accountable and I apologize to them, bro. Like
Yes.
on a regular basis, I self-reflect and say, what could I have done better today? How could I have showed up better for my kids? And sometimes that turns into an apology. Like shortly after prayer, I'm going to apologize to them on the next morning because they may be asleep already. The next morning, I'm apologizing for the way daddy handled that situation because I could have done it in a different way. My intentions were good, but the way I executed may not have been the best. And I think if we really start to treat our young people in a way that helps them understand that they're respected as well, even at a young age, that we'll see a turnaround in their behavior. We'll see a shift in the way we communicate in our homes, and that'll change how our kids act in school. It'll change how they act in church. It'll change how they act on their jobs
Yeah.
because we're starting that conversation and dialogue in the home. So,
Yes, I love that. Well, listen, I just got one question. Was that question
here
for
we
me?
go.
Why are you alive?
Huh? Okay. Hey, boy, ain't he something? He's slick, boy. Slide that in. Why am I alive? Boy, I tell you. Couldn't ask me what my favorite food is. We had to go deep. Okay. Okay. Why am I alive? Man, I am alive, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I'm alive because God has a purpose for me that is extremely larger than myself.
Mm,
I think that over time, as I've grown in my faith, because my mother always raised me to be a believer. I
mm,
think the greatest time, though, that I was able to exhibit that belief was in college. The time that I could have wilded out the most, because now I'm not, even though I did still stay with my mom, like I'm in a different space now in college. And that's a lot of times where there can be a shift in your belief because you're more independent at that point, right? But God surrounded me with an amazing group of people my age, some older, some younger. And I joined the gospel choir at UNO. And that was the largest growth in my spiritual life ever, bro. And so it catapulted me to like constantly taking it to another level and understanding that I'm extremely imperfect. But because I have the mindset and accountability of trying to do better, it forces me to actually try to put myself in spaces and pray for God to place me in spaces where I can practice being better. My purpose for my life, I feel, has been a little clearer to me as I walk in this path of impacting the village,
mm,
and especially the young village, the young
mm,
portion of our village. It's absolutely no mistake that God allowed me to be a father.
mm.
I have absolutely loved being a father. It is the most challenging, man. It is the hardest job I've ever had in my life. And I'm an engineer, bro, by study. Like I've designed and developed but nothing has been harder than being a father. It is the most beautifully complicated thing that I've ever done in my life. But I found so much purpose in my life in being a father and working again to impact young people. I've always just had a heart to help mentor. And I think God has just allowed me to find different ways to do it. And it's not always the very traditional way, but just allowing me to do it. So I feel like the purpose in my life is still yet to be fulfilled and completely identified. But the point that I'm in my life right now, I would have to say my purpose is to impact young people.
Mm,
And that's why no matter what kind of experience I have at the hangout from a business perspective,
yeah.
because it's dark often. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Financially, from growth and stuff like that. But man, when one, two kids show me that their experience just in that moment has changed something in them, even just in that moment, it makes everything feel better. It makes every situation, every bill that I have to pay just feels a little lighter when that happened. And I know that's only because I'm walking in my purpose. And so
oof,
that's what I feel like it is for my life, is to impact young people and to do it in a way that is only God driven, only in
mm,
a way that he would be proud of me for. And so I work very hard to do that. I often apologize to him for missing the mark today, but I'm like, well, please give me the chance to do better tomorrow. Then he give me the chance, and then I screw it up, so I didn't have to ask again. But still, in all, I'm a constant work in progress, and I love the fact that he blesses me often with people like yourself, who encourage me, who lift me up, who think about me when we're not around each other, and they
mm,
they they just mention me in their spirit, and it makes my day better. And something
Mm.
shifts for me, and I may not even know why, but I know why. And so I'm
Mm.
grateful for you,
Oh,
for your energy and the things that the seeds you've planted in my life, even from the first day that we actually met. And so I can imagine what the multiple purposes of your life are. But I can say that for me, that's certainly what it is for me, is just having that impact and leaving this place so much better than it was when I found it. But I can only do that on the back of people like you and
mm.
others who have the same mentality that I want this place to be better. And we think so much larger than ourselves. So I know that was a lot, but I feel like that's why I'm alive. I feel like that's why I'm alive.
Just I just had to take a deep breath. Thank you for that. It's so beautiful. In this moment, the thing that's coming up for me right now, the word surrender. Um, I never truly experienced the love of my father. To hear you talk about the beauty and the joy of being a father, I got to be honest, at some points it was like a little triggering because I just don't have that experience. And then at points it was inspiring because I think one of the greatest things that you can do in life is surrender to your journey and surrender to your path. And I shared with you that my father chose to disconnect from me because of my sexuality. And so
Mhm.
there are times in my life where I see the display of fatherhood, particularly
Mhm.
from one black man to another black man. And I yearn for that energy, but I also know that I get love from the universe in so many different ways. And there's a surrendering and an acceptance there. And I just want to name that it is so beautiful to hear you talk about fatherhood. And I know that that is a source of pride for you. I wish that my father could experience your energy to just understand how beautiful that journey is, albeit complex. And I think that regardless of if a child is your seed or not, the way you show up for the kids over at the hangout, like that is the village. Like, because yes, you may have fathered this set of kids, but you're a father to everybody. And so I definitely feel that energy coming through on the call, but I also feel it when I'm in your presence. And I know that it is something that you cherish. And so I appreciate you for answering that question. Why are you alive? And as we get ready to close out, would love to just close out with some gratitude, but also have you share how people can connect with you, your socials, how to get in contact with you, because the world gets to experience you on an even greater level and experience your energy. So tell the people how they can find you.
My man, my man. So yeah, so on Instagram, they can follow us at the Hangout Nola. That's
Mm.
the Hangout Nola. We also have a nonprofit that really does a lot of its programming through the hang inside of the Hangouts facility, and that's it's called Bonton Studios of Louisiana, which in if you're familiar with French, laissez les bon temps rouler, which is a popular saying that we have here in New Orleans, is let the good times roll. So bon temps just means good times. So I named it Good Time Studio, and that's at BTS. So that's Boy Thomas Sam. I'm really bad with the trying to do the army stuff. I think it's the coolest thing, but I'm horrible with it, bro. I
Like,
come
where
up
we
with the
going with this?
dumbest stuff to say, but it's BTS of Louisiana. So BTS of Louisiana also on Instagram. And we do have a Facebook page, but someone created it without my knowledge. And I'm not really okay with that because I hope that nothing bad comes from that.
Yeah.
They can always reach out to, we have a website. It's thehangoutnola.com.
Yeah.
The nonprofit has a website. BTS is btsoflouisiana.org. So they can reach out to us on either of those platforms. And I'm very easy to get to reach, man. Raynard Bender on Facebook. So they can always reach out to me that way as well. I would love to connect because, again, I'm just trying to do my small part in impacting our young people because they are, it sounds like such a cliche to say they are the future, But it's true, as we grow and matriculate through life, the things that we learn as a young child, they go with us,
Mm.
in some shape or form. And so when we impact them young, it helps them become better people as they get older. They turn into Davids and Rays who want to not only do for themselves but to do for others. But those are the ways to reach out to us, man. I know you didn't ask me all that, but I just wanted to I just wanted to leave that part, man.
I love it. Well, listen, Mr. Hangout, we're gonna take three collective breaths
Oh,
that's rooted in the energy of love. And as we breathe out, I just want you to send love to every single person,
okay.
every being in this world, so that they can feel our love through this call. You ready?
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
All right, let's breathe in, breathe out, breathe in again, and breathe out. Last breath of love, breathe in and breathe out. Mr. Hangout, thank
Man,
you
Mr.
so
Dream Lounge. Love you, brother. I appreciate this.
I love
I really,
you.
really appreciate this, man. Blessings to you, King.
Yes, we will see you on the other side. But just thank you so much for participating in the One Question podcast.
Yes, sir. Best of luck, man. Best of luck.